Hello and welcome to this Prepare for IELTS video. In this video I'm going to look at an IELTS Writing Task 1 academic. Here is a table that was recently in the IELTS Writing Academic exam, and in this table it compares international tourism in 2009 and 2010 in 9 different countries. On our website we have a PDF of the answer and the important points in this video. If you want to pause the video and go and get the PDF, I recommend you do that now. I'll put the link in the description box below. So what do we need to do first when we look at a question like this? It's asking you to summarise the information by selecting and reporting the main features and make comparisons where relevant. The mistake many people make is trying to describe everything in the table. If the IELTS examiner wanted a description of the table, you could just give them the table. That's not the way to do it. You need to look at the main features. So what are the main features? Well, something to look for firstly is what is the biggest number in both years. So in this table, it's France with 76 million in 2009 and 2010. Then look at the smallest number in both years, and in this case it's Hong Kong. Look at the biggest increase. So in this table, because we have 2 years, we have changes over a period of time. So what is the biggest increase? And it's Germany, which had a 109% increase in visitor numbers. You could also look at the biggest drop. So Hong Kong went from 10 million to 9 million, but this was a drop of 11%. And finally, think about what you can see overall. Well, there are many things, but I've picked out this, that overall most of the countries experienced an increase. One country stayed the same and one country dropped. So you can see most countries saw an upward trend. They experienced an increase. So let's take a look now at the model answer. You can either pause the video or you can go and print it off our website. I'm not going to read through it. I'm just going to focus on the structure of it now. So if we look at the opening paragraph, in the first sentence, I paraphrase the information given. The information given is what is written on the question paper, and you need to paraphrase this. You need to write it differently. Then I write about the overall trend. So when I was pointing out that most countries experienced an increase, that's what I was looking for. Was it an increase? Was it a decrease? Did things stay the same? These are the kinds of things you're looking for when writing about overall trends. Then in our first main paragraph, I'm looking at the biggest number, the smallest number, and giving some details and comparing them. Many IELTS candidates forget to compare and contrast, and that's what IELTS examiners are looking for. So similarly, in the next paragraph, I'm talking about the biggest increase, the biggest drop, and comparing them. And finally, if you're not at the 150 words, then add something else. And so here I'm adding some extra information, and I'm saying that there were 4 countries whose numbers went up, but the changes were marginal. So I'm looking here at USA, Spain, UK, Italy. They went up, they increased, but not by very much. So I'm just adding some extra information. Let's take a look at the answer in a little bit more detail now. So you can see the information given gives an overview of. This is a useful opening phrase. Make sure you know an opening phrase to start your answer. Instead of saying the table, the bar chart, you can use the information given. And this is singular, so gives an overview of. It's like a summary of the changes. Tourists, in this answer, you need to paraphrase the word tourists. So I've got tourists, visitors, holidaymakers, travellers. It's really important that you don't just keep repeating the same words. Instead of saying a number of, because you will repeat this many times, I have got the word number a few times, you can use it when there isn't really a suitable alternative, but here I can say a range of. Similarly with places, because we're talking about places, countries, we need to paraphrase this. So I have locations, places, destination, holiday destination, most, nations. And so here I'm paraphrasing it, I'm saying it differently. When I use most at the end, I'm saying most places, most destinations, but we can drop the noun and just use most. An upward trend. When you're looking at any chart, table, graph, think about, is there an upward trend? Is there a downward trend? And these are good collocations. The vast majority of, I could just say the majority of, but when it is most of them, and in this case I think it was 7 out of 9, the vast majority of. When you're starting your main paragraphs, these are useful paragraph starters in terms of with regard to. Try to use some adverbs in your answer. So similarly, interestingly, remarkably. So remember to use these. Think about the language we can use to talk about changes, increases, decreases, took the top position, dropped, increased, doubled, a drop in, went up. Don't just use increase and decrease. Try to use a range of language. Considered, so the lowest ranked destination was Hong Kong in the 2 years considered. So instead of saying in 2009 and in 2010, in the 2 years considered, in the 2 years under discussion. Respectively is a good word to use, and you're referring back. So I'm saying in 2009 and 2010, there was a difference of 66 and 67 million, and in France and Hong Kong respectively. So 66 million in France and 67 million in Hong Kong. So in the paragraph above, we were comparing and we use similarly, whereas in this paragraph, we're contrasting and we can use while and whereas. IELTS examiners like to see comparing, contrasting, not just talking about individual items on their own. Talk about an item and compare it, contrast it to another thing. So I'm saying that visitors to Germany increased by over 100%, while the number to Hong Kong dropped by over 10%. Notice that I'm not quoting numbers from the table. I'm looking at percentage increases, or I'm looking at number differences. So it was 76 and 10 million, so the difference was 66 million. And you don't need to have that many numbers in your answer. An answer that's just full of numbers is not full of good language. So you try to express the numbers in language. Witnessed a drop-in, saw a drop-in, experienced a drop-in. This just makes it a little bit more complex. And finally, another word, instead of saying the changes were small, the changes were marginal. Marginal means very small because the changes were like 1%, 2%, 3%. So they were very small. They were marginal. What I recommend you doing now is looking at the table and trying to write the answer yourself and try to use some of this language. The only way to improve in IELTS writing is practice, practice, practice. You're not just going to remember the words by looking at them. So you can write down some of these key words and then try to write your own answer. Because I've gone through it here, it should take you 10 to 15 minutes to do it now. The PDF is available on our website prepareforielts.com, and please like and subscribe to our channel because it does encourage us and motivate us to try to make more videos if we think people are enjoying and finding our content useful. Thank you very much for watching, and good luck if you've got an IELTS exam coming up soon.